Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are back, that means that you have already watched my reviews of episodes 1, 2, and 3, and you were not scared off by the amounts of pure horniness that I expressed in the last episode, because truly I was out of control. So thank you for coming back. As always, before we start, please thumbs up, subscribe, find me on social media like Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, all of that good stuff. But without any further ado, let's jump into the episode. Actually, before we start, I'm gonna let you know when I rewatched this episode, I was fully drunk. So if my notes don't make no sense, my bad. Okay, so the episode is starting off at the palace where Daphne and Violet have been invited to basically come there, meet some of the court, and see Prince Friedrich. Now the court is unimpressed. They're like, who is this slip of a girl? I heard that she was a commoner. I mean, they're kind of talking trash about Daphne as she and her mama are walking up the aisle. And then Lady Violet, who is hungry, girl, eat in the carriage. She's hungry and she's like, I'm gonna eat a snack. And Daphne was like, Mama, we at court. You can't just be eating before the queen gets here. Lady Violet was like, nah, I'm gonna take a snack. So she starts to eat, and then Queen Charlotte and Prince Friedrich come in. Prince Friedrich is clearly taken with Daphne. He presents to her this gorgeous diamond necklace, but the only thing that Daphne can think about is how much she wants that sweet Simon. I mean, back at the Bridgerton house, everyone starts talking about Daphne possibly being a princess. I mean, Hyacinth, who is the youngest sister, is super interested in Daphne's possible life as a princess. She's like, are you gonna wear a crown? Where will you live? That sort of thing. What I love about this is we don't see a whole lot of Hyacinth in this series. She is the youngest of all the Bridgerton siblings, and her love story is probably not going to take place for another 12 years. So I like that they are establishing that she's a busybody, because that is who she is. This girl is in everybody's business. I'm actually going to tell y'all a little secret. Not a secret, I guess a spoiler. And not a spoiler because I don't know if it's going to happen. But in the books, Hyacinth gets with Lady Danbury's grandson. Now, this is going to be different probably than this story because Lady Danbury is a completely different character kind of here. But she is a busybody that Lady Danbury loves. So I like that they are establishing her character right away. Meanwhile, Simon is all mopey, all sad. He's back at the gorgeous Will's boxing club. And then Will's wife comes out. Her name is Alice. And of course, is she a dark-skinned black woman? No, because this series hates dark-skinned black women. So we can't have that. Will has a boxing exhibition that day that Simon's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss it. I just gotta leave England, you know what I mean? And Alice is like, no. See, what you're not gonna do is abandon my man, all right? He has a boxing exhibition. You're one of his biggest supporters. If you're not there, no one's gonna bet on him. So what you're gonna do is put on your big boy panties and you're gonna go to the boxing match. And Simon's like, okay, I'm going. Meanwhile, over at the Featherington residence, this nasty ass old man, Lord Rutledge, is examining Marina like she is a prize horse. He asks to see her teeth. He says he wants to try her out at the Lady Trowbridge's ball. I mean, he is who Portia has brought over to get married to Marina. Now, Marina is obviously not okay with this. She's like, I literally have dozens of suitors. I don't need this old man. But Portia's like, girl, these young men, they're not gonna propose to you right away. Now, Lord Rutledge, he's probably close to death. This man needs an heir right away. And he's not gonna ask any questions or get upset if the baby's born early. These young men, girl, you are already like 3 months pregnant. They are not gonna be okay if their baby is born, you know, right away after they get married. So Portia brings up some good points, but Marina's like, nah, this is not gonna work for me. Marina runs off to her room, and then Portia is so upset. She goes to Lord Featherington and she's just like, yo, why can we not send Marina back to her dad? And Lord Featherington is not having it, and there's some sneaky stuff going on with that man. Then a Mr. Finch comes to call on Philippa, and it is so fucking sweet, y'all. Like, both of them are little dummies, and they like each other. I love when little dummies get together. And that's actually something that happens in the book. Maybe not necessarily Mr. Finch, but both Philippa and Prudence get with their own respective dumb men. And it's actually really sweet to see that the men they get with, they actually really like a lot. So they're not so evil stepsister in the books. They're actually just dummies in the books. And Louise decides to get out of the house because she is so sick and tired of everybody talking about Daphne. And Louise is actually really worried about this whole thing because she realizes that if Daphne gets married, guess who's next in line to get married? Her. And she doesn't want to settle for this. Like, she wants a life of independence. And then she kind of starts talking about Lady Whistledown and how Lady Whistledown must have this most amazing life and she gets to do what she wants to do. And Penelope is looking real concerned about this talk. Louise starts talking about how much she loves Lady Whistledown and how Lady Whistledown must have this most amazing independent life. And that's when she comes up with her little plan. She's like, hey, we should meet Lady Whistledown. Let's figure out who she is, which Penelope's like, do we need to do that? We also find out here that basically everyone but the Featheringtons thinks that Marina has just been home with like a little cold, just like a little sick. Anthony then takes Daphne to a boxing match where the prince is in attendance, and it's actually the prince who asked Anthony to bring Daphne there because he wants to have a little alone time with her to talk about stuff. And he's actually so sweet, you guys. First off, the actor, that accent, sir. I know you are British and that German accent is horrendous, but it is so sweet to watch the prince be like, so Daphne, do you want kids? Like, I want kids one day. And like, do you want a big family? I have a big family. It's really cute. He really, really likes her. But Daphne, obviously, like, her mind is on Simon the whole time. Like, and then of course she sees Simon across the boxing match looking absolutely gorgeous. He's wearing this black and like gold thing. A shirt. It's called a shirt, but it's like this black and gold patterns on it. And he has his sleeves rolled up to his forearms. Normally, I am not a woman. Sorry, there's actually saliva in my mouth. I am not a woman who is turned on by forearms, but of course, Reggae is gonna make me the type of woman to be like, Reggae, come here. And I'm like, Lord have mercy, the way he rolls it up and he's cheering Will on, and the only bit of skin we can see are these just like lightly dusted, lightly hairy forearms. And I'm just like, anyways, Daphne and Simon, they both kind of like stare at each other, and then when the other one starts to turn, look away, and you can tell that they both want each other and that Simon is jealous of watching her with the prince. He's trying to watch Will fight, but at the same time, he just really, really, really wants Daphne. Now, during the fight, we have two fighters, obviously our incredibly handsome boy, Will Mondrick, and another man named Gillespie, who most of the crowd has actually bet on, including Lord Featherington. Now, Will beats Gillespie in the fight, and at the end of the fight, we see Lord Featherington surrounded by men who are asking for payments, which very clearly Lord Featherington does not have. So the man is broke, and we do not know why. Well, we know why. He's got a gambling issue. That is clearly the reason. Then see Lord Granville, who is the artist, talking to Benedict about art. And, Benedict apologizes for trashing Lord Granville a few days ago at the Royal Art Gallery. And that's when Lord Granville's like, hey, are you an artist? And Benedict's like, nah, I just talk shit about people. And Lord Granville's like, oh, I see. Don't feel too embarrassed about it. Just meet me at my studio in a few days. Later on, Anthony and Simon have kind of met up at a men's club. And, Anthony is talking to Simon about being a good man, how he actually wasn't dishonorable and his intentions towards Daphne, which Simon was. You don't know shit, Anthony. And that's when the prince walks up and asks Anthony if he could speak to him alone, presumably to talk to Anthony about proposing to Daphne. Poor Simon's looking all sour and shit. That's what you get. Next scene, we are back at the Bridgerton house and Lady Violet is there, titties to the sky, corseted all the way up. Truly, I need some of this undergarment wear. You guys, this is like a little $15 push-up bra from Marshalls that ain't doing shit to these titties. They ain't doing shit to these 30-year-old titties. And then Anthony comes in and tells everyone that the prince just asked for permission to propose, and I'm really glad that finally Anthony is trying to act like a good brother. He is trying not to be too over-controlling, and he says that it is up to Daphne, that he did not answer for her. It is completely up to her, and he will support her in any way that she chooses. Daphne is overwhelmed. She clearly did not expect the prince to propose this quickly or even at all. Everyone says, take your time. This happened very quickly. And obviously Lady Violet wants her to take her time because Lady Violet still wants her to get with Simon. That night, Daphne's in the mirror and she's looking at the necklace that was given to her by the prince, and Lady Violet walks in and is just like, hey, so how you feeling about the prince? And Daphne's like, yeah, it's great. I'll be a princess. I'm so happy. And Lady Violet can tell that she is lying, and it's just like, what about the Duke? And they start to get into a fight where, Daphne's like, nothing about the Duke, Mom. It doesn't matter anymore. And Lady Violet's like, I can tell you guys liked each other. And then Daphne just explodes and said, Mom, it was a ruse. It was all fake. Again, very different from the books. In the books, Anthony is the one that got told. So this is not something that ever happened in the books. The next scene is probably, to me, one of the most important scenes in the series, and I wish that this scene had happened in the first episode. In the scene, Lady Danbury is talking to Simon. He's still about to leave. And she tells him that he takes everything he has for granted and that she expected more for him and that he's just letting Daphne, who Lady Danbury believes that he is in love with, slip through his fingers. Then Lady Danbury kind of explains to us, the audience, how this England and this kind of fictional reality came to be so inclusive and diverse. We learn that the marriage of the king and queen is what opened up the country for what she calls people like them, which I'm guessing she means people of color. She says that they were two separate societies divided by color until the king fell in love with one of us. Now, so I had already read a few different articles, and I had amazing people in the comment section being like, hey, this is kind of what's happening. But basically, Queen Charlotte was a black woman, is a black woman. She got married to King George, and she was able to open up the country for people of color as a result. When I first watched the trailers, I thought that was straight colorblind casting. I thought we were just like pulling a Hamilton. I didn't realize that race was something that was like a thing that they were acknowledging in this series. They still barely acknowledge it in this series. I do wish though that they had very specifically had them talk about this in episode 1, because this isn't something easy to miss. If you are not paying attention, if you kind of let your mind wander, you will miss this. I actually missed all of this when I watched the episode the first time because I was like taking notes and I was behind on some prior scenes. So I wish that they continued to hammer home that the reason this is an inclusive, more diverse England is because of Queen Charlotte marrying King George. Also, if you remember, Simon's dad, I guess a few episodes ago, was like, we were granted this dukedom by the queen. So Lady Danbury's over here giving this speech about love conquering all between the queen and king and how they opened up the country for all of them and that love can change everything. And Simon's like, love doesn't mean shit, because the king could tomorrow decide that he's gonna take this all away from us. So nah, love doesn't mean shit, and he's gonna still be leaving on that ship. Later that night, everyone is attending Lady Trowbridge's soiree. Featheringtons enter into the room and Lord Rutledge is there with his nasty ass, fake ass teeth, and then Portia forces Marina to go dance with that man. You know, you can look at some people and you're like, that man's breath smells like somebody died and then died again. You can tell that that's what that man's breath smells like. And poor Marina's gotta dance with him for the next, I don't even know how long. Then the idiotic Mr. Finch walks up to the equally idiotic Philippa and they start flirting about cheese. You guys, I love flirting about cheese. This is so cute. Daphne, wearing quite possibly the ugliest dress we will see her wear all season, is joined by Cressida, who's like, Daphne, you could have had any man. In fact, you had a duke, and you really went after the prince knowing that I was going after the prince. How dare you, you already have everything. This is very different from the books. Now in the books, Cressida is still a hateful ass bitch, but she is the most gorgeous woman in the ton. Like, she is the incomparable of the season. So I kind of wonder, like, what came first? Did the show always know that it was gonna make Daphne the most beautiful girl, or did they hire Phoebe and they were like, oh shit, this storyline's gotta change? Again, in the books, Daphne has been out for a few seasons. Men actually do not want to marry Daphne because they actually see her as a friend as opposed to a love interest. And while Daphne is pretty, all the Bridgerton girls are called pretty, none of them are considered to be gorgeous. So I kind of wonder, like, what came first, what made them change the characters so deeply? However, I will say, even though Cressida in the books is gorgeous, she's still got a stank ass attitude and nobody really wants to get with her for a while. She has some men that hang out with her who are equally awful, but it does take her a little longer to get married because of her attitude. Simon, meanwhile, is at home huffing and puffing and all angry and sad. And he sees that painting, the painting that we saw at the Royal Art Gallery. And he's like, Jeffries, his manservant, Jeffries, what is this doing here? And Jeffries is like, sir, you asked us to get this painting days ago. And it took me a lot of time to get it. And so Simon sits there and he's looking at the painting and it reminds him, of course, of when he and Daphne, when their hands. And he realizes that he has to see Daphne. So he leaves the house to presumably go to Lady Trowbridge's soiree. Meanwhile, Benedict arrives at the home of Lord Granville, who invites him into his painting studio, and Benedict is just like in wonder. Benedict has probably for most of his life only been around high society, and he comes into the art studio and you have all these bohemian artists of probably varying levels of society. They're at their easels and they're painting nudes. There's these nude models in the center, and you can just see on Benedict's face that he has never been around anything like this. I would love to know, for those of you guys that have read the books, you've read Benedict's book, how do you feel about where they're taking his character? I guess up until this episode, because for those of y'all that don't know, I mean, truly, Benedict, he really gets the short shaft of the family in the books. He is barely in like book 1. And then in book 3, which is his own book, he has love at first sight with a woman and chases after her the whole book. And then once he gets with her, because there's a scandal associated with their romance, they move to the country and we almost never see them again. And his whole thing about art only really starts to like really pick up in his book. So How y'all enjoying it? Y'all think they actually doing something with his character? I feel like they're really, really, really trying. Sienna is at the party and she is singing an aria from Offenbach's Le Conte d'Offman, which my auntie-in-law wants y'all to know didn't come out till 1881, and this is not historically accurate. She is an opera singer. She texts me, she's like, I'm watching your little show, but this shit is wrong. I'm letting y'all know, this is historically inaccurate, but most of the show is. So yeah, I did that for you, Jan. Anthony sees Sienna on the stage and you can tell, Anthony does yearning so well. I know some of y'all hate him, but the way he yearns for Sienna, it is so, like, you see it in this man's eyes. He wants her, and she looks over at him and sings the song a little bit, turns away from him, and he's still staring at her. And then Lady Violet's in the back and she sees this, and she walks over and tries to introduce him to a nice eligible young lady, but he is just not interested. He only has eyes for Sienna. Philippa, in tears, walks up to Portia and tells her that Lord Featherington said something to Mr. Finch, and now Mr. Finch won't even talk to her. Portia walks up to Lord Featherington and is just like, what did you do? This was a perfectly acceptable man for Philippa. She has no other suitors. And Lord Featherington's just like, well, she'll have to wait till next season for something. And that's when Portia realizes something's going on with this man. Meanwhile, at the house, Eloise, who's now on the track for Lady Whistledown, is going through her housekeeper's things because she thinks that the housekeeper may be Lady Whistledown. And that woman busts in the room and is like, what you doing in my shit? And Eloise is like, I don't have to tell you, cause I'm a Bridgerton. And in fact, what are you doing with all these Lady Whistledowns? Are you Lady Whistledown? And that woman laughs in Eloise's face. I loved this woman not even like acting afraid. She's like, girl, I changed your diapers. Bitch, you can't tell me what to do. First off, do you think a servant has time to be Lady Whistledown? Secondly, if I was making as much money as Lady Whistledown, do you think I would be serving you? I mean, she laughs in Eloise's face, stops laughing, looks her in the eye and says, get out. It was beautiful. Back at the ball, Colin walks up and talks to Penelope, who is absolutely loving it because Penelope loves Colin, but really Colin's just trying to get more information out about Marina. They kind of see Marina across the room dancing with Lord Rutledge, and Colin decides to kind of walk over and save her from having to dance with him yet again, which crushes poor little Penelope's heart. I should feel bad for Penelope, but truly I'm just like, girl, this man don't want you. Yes, they end up together eventually, but this man don't want you now. Daphne is dancing with the prince, and this scene, again, I've said this before, reminded me a lot at that Mr. Collins and Lizzie Bennet scene from the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, where, like Mr. Collins is trying to be like, can I stay with you? So, the prince is trying to talk to Daphne about proposing to her, and she keeps trying to switch partners during the dance, and she obviously does not want to have this conversation, so she kind of stops him and is like, hey, I actually need to go catch my breath, and she leaves the party and goes outside. She gets outside and she feels like she can't breathe, and she tears off the prince's necklace, and then someone says, Daphne! She looks around, and it is Simon looking good in that crushed velvet. Oh my God! He's just like, Daphne, I had to see you, and she's like, why? And he's like, I had to say goodbye, and she's like, I didn't need your goodbye. I don't need you. I don't need anything from you. We're not friends, remember? So fucking dramatic. And she tells him, I'm gonna be marrying the prince. I'm gonna be a princess. She like stamps her little feet. And Simon's like, are you gonna marry him? Do you really believe that he's the best man for you? And Daphne's all like, I don't have to explain shit to you. And she runs off into the garden. Simon takes after her. He's like, Daphne, stop. You can't be out here. It's dark. Daphne, stop. And she's like, please leave me. Please go. And he catches up to her and is like, we have to go back. And she's like, leave me be. And then they look into each other's eyes. Then passion. Oh, they start making out. He starts feeling her up. And then cock blocked again by Anthony. Why is Anthony out in the gardens? We don't know. Now, this does happen in the books. Ned and Daphne do get caught in the gardens making out and getting felt up by Anthony. He does catch them out there, and he does say, you need to marry my sister, and Simon is not with it, and he does challenge Simon to a duel. So what we see happen in the TV show is incredibly accurate in terms of like them getting caught and then Simon having to duel with Anthony. Guys, if I do 3 billion Hamilton, 10 dual commandment references, please forgive me. That is consistently going through my mind anytime a duel is now mentioned in any form of media. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Anthony takes Daphne back into the party, and then Cressida says a little comment, and it was very clear to me that Carissa saw Daphne at that moment. I think it takes Daphne a few scenes to realize what happened, but Carissa saw Daphne and Simon do a little some in the garden. Later on that night, back at the Featherington home, Portia starts going through her husband's office because that girl, she knows that something is up with her husband. Like, her husband normally would have sent Marina away as soon as they found out she was pregnant and would never have turned down a marriage offer for one of their 3 daughters. In the book, there are 4 daughters. So if he's got 4 daughters, he needs to get them married off. So Portia knows that something is up with Lord Featherington. Upstairs, Marina is up there gushing to Penelope about Colin being a perfect father for her child, being a perfect husband, how he'd be so kind. Penelope is so visibly upset that it is kind of wild that, like, Marina never sees it. Like, if I'm talking to my friend and I'm like, I love a man, and my friend's like, I'd be like, oh, honey, is something wrong? And instead, Marina's just like dancing around the room while Penelope is so clearly upset. Penelope finally gets Marina to leave her room. Anthony and Daphne arrive back at the Bridgerton home, and Anthony thinks he's helping by being like, hey, I don't blame you for being a slut, basically. And she's all like, please stop being so condescending. I knew what I was doing in that garden. Even calls him out and is like, this duel is less about me and my honor and more about your own pride. Benedict arrives home from Lord Granville's studio, and Benedict pulled him into his office, I think, to ask him to be Anthony's second. No one can sleep, obviously, because the duel's gonna be happening in just a few hours, and Anthony is sitting at his desk, and the only thing he can think of is that sweet Sienna pussy. So he makes his way over to Sienna and, knocks on her door, and it's just like, I had to see you. What if we could have a life together? And she's just like, you need to stop playing around. And he's like, listen, I'm going to duel at dawn. And if I live, we can have a life together. And then Sienna still is not impressed with him. And he's like, I'm gonna go. She takes his arm, pulls him aside, and they just start making out. Lord Featherington finally makes his way home to find Portia sitting like a boss bitch at his desk. And she says, I know everything that has happened. She finds out through snooping through his office that he has lost all of their money. He has gambled all of their money away, including the girls' dowries. And she's just like, you need to fix this. And this little punk ass bitch starts crying, like, Portia, I just don't know what to do. And it's really funny because she's just sitting there like, get your shit together. We're watching now all of the men kind of leave their respective locations to get ready for the duel, and meanwhile Daphne is kind of like fretting and walking back and forth in her room because she knows that this can't happen. Either her brother is gonna get killed or the man that she has fallen for is gonna get killed. Very, very similar to the book. So what she does is she goes to Colin and she's like, hey, yo, what's good? We gotta go stop the duel. And Colin's like, nah. He'll realize he needs to marry you. And she's like, no, he won't. And he's like, Anthony won't shoot him. She's like, yes, he will. And then she thinks back to the party and realizes that Carissa has seen them in the gardens and that she has to go get Simon to marry her or her reputation is gonna be ruined. Have arrived at dawn for the duel. Anthony, to his credit, tells Benedict that if he dies, take care of Sienna. Simon tries to apologize to Anthony. Anthony's like, nah, bro, just get your gun. Get your gun. They're counting down, and then Simon, he aims his pistol at the sky, wait! I'm sorry, there's gonna be, I'm gonna try to keep my Hamilton references very, very small. Daphne, she rides into the middle of the fight, even though I'm like, girl, you cannot ride into the middle of a fight during a duel? She almost got hit with a bullet. Instead, her horse throws her. She's unhurt. She tells Simon that she has to talk to him. She tells Simon that Carissa saw them in the garden and that he's got to marry her to protect her reputation. And Simon is still like, no, like, I can't give you what you want. I know you want a family, Daphne, and I cannot give you kids. Simon, say what you want to say, brother. So many things this season could have been just saved if everybody was just like clear with everybody. Anyway, Daphne's like, we'll worry about that later. Tells Anthony, look, me and Simon, we're gonna get married. Overall, this was an okay episode. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was good. It felt, not that it's filler, it definitely set some stuff up, but we already know that Daphne's never gonna get with the prince, right? So like, cool, let her spend time with him, but we know this is not going anywhere. Really, this episode, all it really needed to do was to set up kind of Daphne and Simon getting caught in the gardens together to set up the duel scene. I think I've said this before, but I think when the story focuses on anything other than Daphne and Simon, it gets a little weak. I personally don't care too much about Benedict, so I don't care that he's learning about art. This was the episode, I think I said in one of my other reviews that it was episode 5, but it was actually this episode that I was deeply upset afterwards because they introduced yet another Black character who was a light-skinned woman. Will, who is this gorgeous dark-skinned man, of course, like, his wife would be another light-skinned Black woman because the show seems to believe that only light-skinned Black women can be considered wifey material, you know, or even girlfriend material, or even mistress material. And like all the dark-skinned women just kind of are in the background. So yeah, this episode kind of felt like a middle of the season, kind of filler episode. So it was fine. It was fine. Nothing about the show was bad, but I wasn't like over the moon about anything that happened, right? But the next episode, that's when we gonna get some good stuff at the end. So guys, get excited about episode 5. Again, like, subscribe, talk to me in the comment section. You guys that like Benedict, really talk in the comment section. Let me know how you're feeling about Benedict. Even more stuff happens with him in the following episode. So yeah, Benedict lovers, get excited. I will see you guys next time. Bye.